Hello, folks. This is Alan in today's news. And this one here is about anybody with a 401k. Team Biden 401k heist could raid your retirement for a woke agenda. I'm not going to use the word president. Joe Biden is threatening the returns of 401k savings account, risking millions of workers comfortable retirements. If you put money into a 401k, beware. Until now, the law allows required fund managers entrusted with your savings to invest the money where it's expected to get the top profit for you. Period. But late last month, Biden's Labor Department announced a rule change that goes into effect at the end of January. It will allow fund managers to invest your money in the stocks of companies that favor left-wing policies, even if they earn a lower return. Biden is trying to put everything Democrat. If you lose money, blame it on Joe. It's legalized theft. That's what it is. The future earnings on your retirement nest egg are being sacrificed to advance a woke agenda. A lower return means you have to work more years before retiring or start putting more into your 401k or settlement for a lesser standard of living in the final years of your life. Joe don't care because he makes a lot of money. Well, he steals a lot of money, let's put it that way. Biden's rule paves the way for your 401k savings to be put into what are called ESG funds, but you can stop it from happening if you're vigilant. What is ESG? E stands for environmental, S for social justice, and G for governance, meaning it goes in Joe's pocket, meaning who gets hired or put on your or on the company board. ESG funds generally invest in compliances that oppose fossil fuels, support unionization, and stress gender and racial diversity over merit. Support unionization, yeah. From the worker's point of view, ESG stands for expect slower growth. These funds charge higher fees and often produce lower returns, especially now when the oil company profits the stocks are soaring while the tech companies' ESG funds tend to favor are doing poorly. So that means if you're going to put money in 401, leave it to Joe that he's going to make sure you lose money, not going to retirement. He wants you to work. Okay, here's something from Fox Weather. Amid 24-hour darkness, Alaskan Arctic town reaches 40 degrees, setting all-time winter heat record. Alaska is having a heat wave. The northernmost town in Alaska got a brief taste of winter warmth, at least relatively speaking, when a wind shift brought a surge of mild above freezing air to the Arctic enclave Monday morning. Monday began as a typical morning, and I ain't saying the name of that town. Formerly known as Barrow, temperatures were around 20, but with wind chills near zero as southeasterly winds gusted to 35 miles an hour. Then a wind shift out of the south ahead of an approach band of snow turned up the heat, sending the temperature zooming from 25 to a balmy 40 degrees in just 30 minutes. The reading smashed the town's record for the warmth December day by several degrees. besting the old record of 34 degrees set in 1932. In fact, it was the warmest temperature ever recorded in winter, or even late fall or early spring. The previous warmest temperature recorded between October 20 and April 22 was 39 degrees, set in November 1937, according to the National Weather Service in Fairbanks, crediting climate specialist Rick Thorman for the find. But don't think that the town residents will all race outside to party in the streets. Sunglasses and beachwear in hand, as this town is still amid 65 days of polar darkness and hasn't seen the sun since November 18, and it won't see a sunrise until January 23rd. Besides the 40 degrees reading only lasted moments, the temperatures gradually cooled back into the 20s. By evening, wind chills back in the teens, and temperature were down to the single digits Tuesday morning. Well, because they still got snow on the ground, so it's going to quickly cool it back off again. But it's been part of a mild start to winter in the Arctic. November ranked as the 6th warmest by average temperature, and 3 of the other 5 years ahead of it have come since 2017. This town nearly reached the December temperature record on Friday, high of 32. Okay, here's something here. Walmart CEO warns company will close stores if theft doesn't slow down. Doug McMillan told CNBC that theft is higher than what it was historically been at stores. He said that along with stores closing, if theft doesn't slow down, prices could be higher. Like they're not high enough. We can charge $50 for a gallon of milk. Reuters previously reported that Walmart loses roughly $3 billion in theft a year. Well, they got a lot of money anyway. They can afford it. This is from Business Insider, by the way. Walmart CEO Doug McMillan issued a stark warning Tuesday. If theft doesn't slow down, the retailer will close stores across the country. Theft is an issue, he told CNBC. It is higher than what it has historically been. He added, if that's not corrected over time, prices will be higher or in our stores will close. Let me see what they have to say here.
All the retailers talk about is what's happening with theft, with shrinkage, stuff that walks out the door. I've spoken with other retailers who have said this is a national issue, a state issue, a city-wide issue. Laws matter where these things aren't prosecuted. What's it mean to the bottom line? What would you like to see people in Washington and elsewhere do about it?
Yeah, theft is an issue. It's higher than what it's historically been, and we've got safety measures, security measures that we put in place by store location. I think local law enforcement being staffed and being a good partner is part of that equation, and that's normally how we approach it.
But there have been rules that have been changed that make it not something that the police are going to prosecute, or that the criminals won't be prosecuted below certain levels. Does that matter?
If that's not corrected over time, prices will be higher, and or stores will close.
And how much of that, though, do you have to go state by state and actually work on that issue? I mean, you see videos now. I saw a video of some burglars in the Apple store, just literally just taking everything that they could. And the Apple employees were told, stand back and just let it all happen. And maybe that's the right decision in the moment, but clearly there's something larger going on.
It's really city by city, location by location. It's store managers working with local law enforcement, and we've got great relationships there for the most part, and that's the way we approach it.
So what would you like to see? What are the measures that, from the Walmart perspective and the Business Roundtable perspective, Business Roundtable perspective, that you'd like to see policymakers working on right now?
It's just policy consistency and clarity, so that we can make capital investments with some vision.
Good luck.
That would be nice.
McMillan did not say during the interview how much money Walmart has lost in stolen items this year. Walmart did not immediately reply to the insider request for that number. But the world's largest retailer likely loses about 1% of the U.S. revenue, or roughly $3 billion every year, to stealing by customers and employees. Reuters reported in 2015 when I worked for Walmart before, they had employees that stole for them too. So it's not just customers, mainly customers, but employees steal from them also. McMillan said that the key to reducing theft is Walmart working with local law enforcement agencies, ensuring that those agencies are fully staffed. The Bentonville, Arkansas-based retail giant is not the only retailer that has recently sounded the alarm of theft. Missing inventory has reduced Target's gross margin by more than $400 million in 2022 compared with last year. Target expects those profit losses to grow to $6 million by the end of the fiscal year. Target CFO Michael Fiddico, said in November during the company earnings call. Target predominantly blamed the inventory risk on organized crime. Along with other retailers, we've seen a significant increase in theft and organized retail crime across our business. Target CEO Brian Cardell said during the earnings call. My first Walmart store, it was in a great neighborhood, not a real bad neighborhood, but not in a great neighborhood. And I came to work one time. I had this in my news report before, and one of the overnight workers asked me if I heard the news. I said no. I said what? He said somebody came in with about 5 shopping carts with electronics and just walked right out on them. Walmart didn't have security then. They did before, but they got rid of the security, and that's when that happened. He said 5 grocery carts just full of electronics just went straight out the door. And after that, the employees' hours were cut just to pay for that. Walmart is not losing all that money. They're actually taking out the pay of the employees. They'll just cut the employees' hours, and what employees are working, they'll just work them harder just to make up for the employees they don't have. Walmart has a workaround, okay? They do. Trust me. Okay, here's one here. Physical attacks on power stations in multiple states report. This is from Newsweek. There have been physical attacks on power stations in multiple states in recent months, according to a new report. About 35,000 people in North Carolina, Monroe County, remained without power on Wednesday after the substation was damaged in what authorities describe as a targeted attack at the weekend. Authorities said the outages began on Saturday after one or more people drove up to the substation, breached the gates, and opened fire on them. Moore County Chief Deputy Richard Madness told Newsweek on Tuesday that the investigation remained ongoing. But yeah, that's a funny. I bet he got picked on school. Madness. Power companies in Oregon and Washington have reported physical attacks on substations using hand tools, arson, firearms, and metal chains, possibly in response to an online call of attacks on critical infrastructure. The memo says in part. In recent attacks, criminals actors bypassed security by cutting the fence links, lighting nearby fires, shooting equipment from a distance, or throwing objects over the fence and onto equipment. The FBI told News Nation that it is too early to know the motive for the attack that caused widespread outages in Monroe County, but there have been similar cases in North Carolina and other states in recent months. The Bureau has been contacted for further comment. Ahead of November 8th midterm election, Newsweek documentation documented that digital. Those include the act of vandalism that caused fairly significant damage at a transformer servicing the Keystone XL pipeline in South Dakota, and a shooting that caused a chemical spill in a Pacific Gas and Electric site in California in July. In March, thousands of customers in southern Oklahoma were reportedly left without power after bullets riddled a transformer site, causing a major oil leak. On November 11th, more than 12,000 people lost power in North Carolina's Jefferson County after a substation owned by Coretta Cavern Electrical Cooperative was damaged by criminal vandalism. The vandals damaged the transformer and caused them to leak coolant oil. The company said the investigation into the incident is ongoing and no suspects have been identified or arrested. Don't they have cameras around these places? They should have. They don't. Anyway, you can read the rest of this. Anything I read will be in the description box in a link. You can just click on it. And here's another for you here. Just find out about this one here. This is from Fox News. It's the unholy alliance between the left and big tech.
Host of Tucker Carlson Tonight and Tucker Carlson Originals on Fox Nation. Now, part one of his latest two-part series, Biden Inc., is available right now on Fox Nation. And we got our hands on an exclusive sneak peek.
Want to know how corrupt a country is? Take a look at how its leaders live. Do the people in charge always wind up richer than they were before they took office? Do they live in sprawling compounds surrounded by armed guards? Does the average senator, for example, live in the same zip code as the people who vote for him? Places like Scranton, Pennsylvania? If not, you've got corruption. During his 5 decades as a public servant, Joe Biden and his family became rich, and they enriched themselves at the country they supposedly serve. How did they do that exactly? Well, we obtained thousands of documents, text messages, emails, and recorded calls that tell the story, that illustrate how America's first family really does business. This is Biden Inc.
Now, Tucker, like the Twitter revelations we discussed in that previous block, there's this stunning lack of curiosity about everything the Biden family has done to enrich itself. Why is that?
Well, and it's long-standing. It's 50 years of ignoring how Joe Biden lived in this sprawling estate.
Well, it's him, ripping people off. Is what it is. Joe Biden is no good. Okay, here's something for you. If you, in case you travel, this is from USA Today. What is needle spiking? What travelers should know. You always think it won't happen to you, and then it does. Michaela looked alarmed when she turned to me at the bar and told me she thought she might have been needle spiked or injected with drugs. Prior to her move to London in September for graduate school, my friend Michaela, 27, received a warning from a friend in Germany about the prevalence of spiking throughout Europe, either by slipping a drug into a drink or injecting drugs into someone's body with a hypodermic needle. The phenomenon of needle spiking gained attention across the United Kingdom during a sudden increase across the country in October 2021, according to a recent report by the House of Commons Home Affairs Committee. Michaela, whose last name isn't included due to the nature of her experience, hadn't even taken a sip of her drink when she felt the jab in her hip. But she knew something was wrong. Within 5 minutes, she became woozy, dizzy, and couldn't see straight. She immediately told me that she wasn't feeling well. Michaela doesn't remember what happened after that, but she suddenly collapsed. to the floor among a group of partiers standing in a semicircle around her limp body. She woke up quickly, but fearing a stranger would pick her up. I scooped my arms under her shoulder and carried her to the exit. You can read more about it. The link will be in the description box. You know, this world is going crazy. Well, it's been crazy, but it's getting worse. This is something like you would see on a spy movie, you know. Okay, we're back to the substation again. This is from USA Today. North Carolina substation attack, a wake-up call, and latest nationwide infrastructure threat. A shooting that damaged 2 power stations in North Carolina County, leaving thousands of homes without power, has been deemed a target attack, as officials warn of threats to the nationwide infrastructure. Days before the attack, the Department of Homeland Security issued a bulletin throughout its National Terrorism Advisory System warning that the United States remains in a heightened threat environment, and lone offenders and small groups may commit acts of violence on various targets, including critical infrastructure in the county. If they knew about it, why weren't they prepared before? That's my question. They just, Homeland Security just sitting on their fingers, just twiddling them around. The bulletin follows a report made in January in which the DHS warned that domestic extremists have been developing credible, specific plan to attack electrical infrastructure since at least 2020. See, they knew about this before, and they're not doing nothing about it, you know? Our country is going... Extremists adhering to a range of ideologies, I can't say that word, will likely continue to plot and encourage physical attacks against electrical infrastructure, the report warned. More than 6,400 power plants and 450,000 miles of transmission lines runs across this country. I say be prepared, go solar, you know. Can't trust all these solar companies either, so you gotta, you know, do your research, do your homework. Don't be sitting around just thinking about it. You gotta do it. You really do. Okay, here's one from Business Insider. Meta has threatened to pull all news from Facebook and the U.S. if an ill-considered bill that would compel it to pay publishers passes. In a statement Monday, Meta threatened to pull news from Facebook and the U.S. over a media bill. The bill will require Facebook and other platforms to pay publishers for their news. It's all about money. Everything's about money. Meta previously cut all access to news in Australia after a similar bill was passed in the country. Meta, Facebook's parent company, issued a public warning Monday that it could remove all news from its U.S. platform if Congress passed a media competition bill, which would force Meta and other platforms to compensate publishers and broadcasters. Andy Stone, Meta Policy Communication Director, posted the company's statement on Twitter regarding its position on the Journalism Competition and Preservation Act. The statement said that if Congress passed the ill-considered journalism bill, Meta will be forced to consider removing news from our platform altogether. And I don't blame them. You know the news there. You watch the news on Facebook, okay, and then you might like that channel, so you go and watch the channel. You know, I don't know why they want to charge them for. It's just outrageous, what it is. It's Biden outrageous. Okay, here's something from KMOV4, St. Louis News. Man threatened to blow up and shoot up a Jefferson County high school, charges says. A man is facing charges threatening to attack a Jefferson County high school. According to the St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, Kevin McArthur was heard on December 5th saying he was going to blow up and shoot up Northwest High School upon the release from Highland Behavioral Health Center, where he was a patient. Well, he's crazy anyway. He may do it. Extra patrols were implemented on the school's campus after the school was notified of the threat. MacArthur, 43, is facing a second-degree terrorist threat charge. He's being held on a $7,000 bond. Let me see what it says here. There's a little news report here about it.
Neighborhood schools in the hands of the Jefferson County School Board. Jeffco is one of the state's largest school districts, but due to declining enrollment, it is proposing closing up to 16 schools, all listed here. And they're all elementary schools. The meeting just getting underway for us right now. Our Rick Sounder joins us live in Jefferson County tonight. And Rick, these families, they love their schools so much, so this is going to certainly be a tough night for them. How's the turnout so far?
Well, Karen, I wouldn't say that there is a huge crowd, but this is indeed a very important night. As a Jeffco parent who sent his kids to Jeffco elementary schools, I can tell you this is about far more than just closing buildings. It impacts communities. Campbell Elementary is just one of more than a dozen on the chopping block. Kevin Freund brings his 5-year-old daughter, Sophie, here for preschool. If it closes, things will change.
I mean, right now we're walkable to our school, so just 2 blocks away, but so, you know, next year we'll have to drive, or she'll bus. So it's a little bit harder, but not too bad.
Theirs is one of 16 elementary schools in Jefferson County identified for closure.
I didn't know that they were planning on closing down schools. Period.
No middle or high schools yet.
These are hard decisions. I think a lot of people are rightfully upset, but I think there's a lot of discussion. I think there are families that have to move schools twice. We're not one of those, but it's a little more challenging for them.
Jeffco has enough space for 96,000 students. The trouble is there are now only around 69,000 in the district. Parr Elementary in Arvada is another on that list for possible shutdown. Amy Cam is a teacher who is very concerned there.
And want to make sure that our Title I students, who are students with the most deficits and the greatest needs, both socially, emotionally, and academically, that they are taken care of.
Keeping schools open costs money, and there's not enough of it to go around. This important meeting is about to begin. First, they will have public comments, and then the 5 board members will vote later on this evening. It's all or nothing to close the 16 schools or let them remain open. Live in Jefferson County, Rick Sellinger, covering Colorado First.
Rick, thank you so much. Rick, as you mentioned, lives in Jefferson County. He is your community reporter for everything Jeffco. So we sure hope that you'll email him through cbscolorado.com or leave a suggestion if you have a story idea through 0.
So, what I don't understand, though, they have these lotteries, it's supposed to help the school. They raise school taxes every year, practically. And I even heard news before where a teacher used their own salary just to buy school supply. What is wrong with this picture? They're closing schools because they want more money. They're getting money everywhere. I don't understand it. I really don't. Here's one for you from USA Today. Beef shortage looms Florida's citrus in peril and U.S. farms hit by climate change in 2022. This has been a year of extreme weather, from floods, horrific hurricanes, unlimited heat, drought, and massive rainfall events. Farmers, always at the mercy of the weather, have taken a hit. In 2022 so far, there have been over a dozen climate disaster events, with losing exceeding $1 billion, according to the NOAA. While harvests in the U.S. overall have been good, some crops were devastated. In Texas, the cotton harvest was hit hard by drought, hurricane, blew oranges off the trees. In Florida, rice farmers in California have left fields empty for lack of water, and cows. Ranchers are sending more cows to slaughter because drought stunted pastures can't support normal calving activity. Never heard that word before. Climate change can't be directly blamed for every bad harvest or extreme weather event this year. But the effects of climate change, including drought and rainier hurricanes, hurt harvest more across the nation in 2022. Farmers have always had to deal with bad weather, but climate models make clear more is coming. See what this rest says. It is a pattern scientists have been warning about for decades, and higher global temperature will bring on weather wearing. Every year, the farmers who feed our nations get smarter and more resilient, but it's increasingly stressful to adapt to the extreme that they face, said Erica Christner Thomas with the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Institute for Food Production and Sustainability. One year they'll have the best year ever, and then the next year they'll be hit with a major flood, even a drought, she said. Well, you're going to read the rest of this on my description box. Just click on the link. This will be all I'll read to you today.